And I think we are live earlier than expected this time. Not like last times where I'm usually late most of the time. But what can I say? I'm Persian. Persians are late all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, welcome everybody. I hope everyone is having a awesome time. Just quickly need to get a few things more set up. Then we're good to go. Okay, we're good to go now. All right, we're good to go. So, how is everyone feeling? How is everyone doing? All right, Takasega, nice to have you here. Thank you, my man. And Daryl, all right. I think from everything we, the shareholders, have been through a lot of up and downs. So I think that any case scenario would be good news in the black. Yeah, indeed. And hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Let's go. Let's go. Welcome, everybody. You guys asked me to do more lives, so hopefully we can do more of them. Usually, I'm more a fan of doing videos rather than doing lives because I don't know. I just like to do the videos and editing, but it is time consuming. So doing live is actually not as much time consuming because whatever you just do gets uploaded and whoever wants to watch it can watch it. All right, let's get down to this. Oh, Colin, how you doing? How is everyone doing? Welcome, welcome. Shout out to him. Shout out to all of you, actually. You guys are awesome. So let's get down to this ARK thing. ARK came out and they said that for 2029, they're expecting Tesla stock price to be around 2,600 bucks per share, or to be valued around 7 trillion, 8 trillion, somewhere around that mark, which would be a stock price of, well, again, 2,600 bucks. So that is a sheesh moment. We're going to get through that. But before we do, I want to show you guys this. What is this bunch of numbers that I got here, Pejjy? What is this, man? Why do you have all these numbers back here? What is all this for? Well, I'm going to go through it. 2027, ARK did come out with their own, with a older version of the Tesla stock price prediction. And it's not changed, obviously. They made a new one, the 2029 version. And I went back and I compared their old stock price prediction for 2027 and with the current one for 2029. And it was interesting. Check it out. So for the bear case in 2027, they're saying the stock could be worth around 1,400 bucks per share, which is what, at 7-8 times from now in the bear case. In the base case in 2027, they're saying 2,000 and 2,500 in the bull case. In 2029, what they're saying is bear case 2,000, so pretty much their expected price for 2027 is their bear case for 2029. Expected case 2,600 and bull case 3,100. Now, do you guys see some sort of an interesting pattern here? Check this out. 2027, 1,400 bear case, 2029 bear case 2,000. There's a $600 gap in between them. So that would mean for 2028, they're probably thinking that the bear case is 1,700 and then 2,000. So 300 bucks increase every single year, and not just for the bear case, for the base case and for the bull case, which is interesting because every 300 bucks, a bit higher than that will be $1 trillion. But practically what they're saying is that every single year that passes, ARK is saying that the stock's gonna slap on $1 trillion in valuation every single year, because if you guys do the math, 1,400 plus 600 is 2,000, so that's 300 every single year. 2,000 plus 600 is 2,600. 600 plus 2,500 plus 600 is 3,100. So 300 bucks every single year, which is a sheesh moment. But that's what I found pretty interesting. But question is, will we even hit these numbers by 2027? Will we even hit these numbers in 2029? We're going to break down ARK Invest's little, well, not little, it's a bit long, which is why I made it little on my X. If you guys are following my X, you guys should definitely do it, on how we can break this down in a very easy and short way. So here's everything that y'all need to know about ARK, and then I'll go through my Excel sheet showing you if I agree with their analysis or not and what I'm thinking. All right, so let's do this. So first things first, ARK Invest expects Tesla stock to be 2,600 by 2029, 3,100 at the bull case, and 2,000 at the bear case. Now, check this out, guys. In the expected value, the projection, they're saying this projection is our expected value. And then through the Monte Carlo analysis, look at the bear case. Here we go. In this analysis, the probability that Tesla stock could be worth 2,000 per share or less in 2029 is 25%, and bull case 25%. So they're saying expected value could be as high as 50%. So they seem to be a little confident on that. So that's a sheesh moment. Let's go break down some interesting stuff. Now, ARK in this post here, ARK Invest shows a model of how Tesla stock could range between 2029 and notes that if no autonomy happens, the stock could be worth 350. However, the model predicts that the stock could be well above 3100, could even be as high as 5000 or 5250 if everything comes together. So this is the Monte Carlo range, which is a bunch of probabilities. They're saying that, okay, expected value, which is right here around 2600, but it could run up as high as 5250. Flipping insane. If robotaxis, because this whole analysis that ARK is doing is nothing but robotaxis, right? It's mainly robotaxis. There's no FSD licensing. The bots, barely any bots. Energy, not so much. It's purely EVs and robotaxis, and we'll see it in a bit. But they're saying that if no autonomy happens, the stock by 2029 could be worth 350, which is 12% increase every single year from now till 2029, which is a little bit better than the S&P 500. Which with the amount of risks we're taking, that's not a good investment. That's all I'm gonna say. So, moving on to the next one. Here was the very interesting one. Check this out, guys. So, excuse me. Little pie chart here. Revenue, what ARK is expecting by 2029 in their revenue is 63% of 1.2 trillion revenue by 2029 is going to be robotaxis, 26% is going to be EVs, 10% is going to be energy, and 1% is going to be insurance. EBITDA, 86% robotaxi, which is insane, but look at the enterprise value, which is pretty much the market cap, but valued in a different way, not as a detailed as a market cap. But they're saying 88% of Tesla's valuation is going to be robotaxis, which means the margins are going to be extremely high, while for the EVs 9% compared to 26% for revenue. So that shows you that they have a lot of expectation for robotaxi when it comes to Tesla. Now, what was interesting here is that, okay, yeah, energy is 2%, which is, yeah, okay, it makes sense because only 20% profits, and you can see that with the 10% revenue. 1% insurance in net income, or not in net income, but enterprise value, and 1% in insurance for revenue. So that means that they're thinking that insurance is going to be 100% business here, which is pretty interesting. That's interesting here, and I would reckon that insurance will be a big play once robotaxi does come in. I do reckon that. I do see that happening. So, moving on to the breakdown of this, because this is what we need to see. All right. Breakdown of ARK Invest bear and bull case. Check this out, guys. This is in full detail is what we need. And you guys can see there is no energy here, right? There's no energy here. It's literally cars, which ranges between 5.8 in the bear case all the way to 14.4 million vehicles sold between then. So they're saying in the base case or their expected 2600 value, 2600 bucks per share is about 10 million, which gets in line with Gary Black's, which is, again, interesting. Electric vehicles will be between 250 billion in the bear case. Now, with this 250 billion, if they sell 5.8 million vehicles, that's about an average selling price of 43,000. In the bull case, 394 billion, that's an average selling price of just over 27,000. So that's interesting. Then here's the part that is flipping crazy. The ride haul revenue, which is the robotaxi. Bear case 603 billion, right? And this is profits, right? Net, this is profits. And the bull case 951 billion. Now, do I believe that? I mean, right now we have zero of that, right? Tesla's not generating anything. And robotaxi event is coming on August 8th. And I don't think it's going to be deployed until 2026. So if they're expecting, let's say they start in 2026, hey, let's just say they're starting in 2025. They're going to go from, let's say, a start of, I don't know how much they would start with, maybe. I would expect they would start with a small fleet and they will go maybe around 10 million in profits, maybe in the first year, right? Best case scenario, in my opinion. Within 3-4 years, going to 603 billion. It's just crazy. I don't know how that's realistic. This all depends on how fast they can get the fleet on the road. And we know that Tesla, they have their, well, they have, over 6 million vehicles on the road, and they can probably put 10% of that in the robotaxi fleet if they have to. And right off, like overnight, you're going to have a lot of robotaxis on the road, but that has a lot of elements to it. And I don't know if it's going to happen overnight where it's like, okay, in 2026, 1 million cars in the US can now use their service as robotaxis. I don't think that's how it's going to play out, unfortunately. But that's the, ARC, that's what they're saying. That this thing can scale up to 603 billion in the worst case scenario. In the best case scenario, 951 billion, which is just crazy. Gross margins, I do agree with them here with 56% at 53%, because I mean this is a SaaS business, right? Software as a service business. So I can easily see this being even higher than this, to be honest. We have EBITDA margins of like 1/3, and enterprise value, or the PE, of 16.8 for 2029 bear case and 18 in the bull case. That is a market cap of 7 trillion in 2029 and almost 11 trillion in 2029, which pretty much ends up being the world's most valued company at that point. We have share price, compounded annual growth rate, 56% in the bear case, and in the bull case, 69%, which is quite ironic. So that's crazy. I'll give you guys my thoughts in a bit, what I exactly think. Again, I mean, 603 billion, even in the bear case, by 2029, you gotta have a lot of fleets on the road that are capable of doing this. That means the software has to be flawless. Let's see what the plan is on August 8th. So that's that. Moving on to the interesting part here is ARK Invest says that the likelihood of Tesla failing to launch robotaxis per year gets less and less drastically, and I agree with this. They expect to see Tesla launching between as early as 2026 and as late as 2029, and we can see it here. So they're saying that 58% of Tesla failing not to launch robotaxis in 2025 and 2026, that number gets down drastically. But in 2027, it's just practically like, like if you haven't launched it till then, like you're just holding back for no reason. And then after that, we can see how that number pretty much goes to zero. So robotaxis is literally just around the corner. I would say within the next 2 years, it's there. Real data of the competition. Oh, I love this one. This is actually one of my favorite charts of them. They're saying here, well, I'm seeing Rip Cruise here, and you guys will see. Autonomous miles run rate that Tesla's collecting right now, it reached almost at 1.5 billion. It's closer to 2 billion right now. Let's just be honest here. It's so close to 2. It's much closer to 2 billion than it is with 1.4, 1.5. But look at the competition. I mean, look, Cruise is just there's not even a single blue line for Cruise. Waymo, I mean, I thought they were a distant second, but Baidu is a distant second. So all these guys saying that, Mercedes level 3 and Tesla's still level 2 and they're losing, and they're never gonna be more than level 2. Like, oh God, just look at the data. You need this data to solve this darn thing, man. And they don't have the data. NVIDIA CEO doesn't come out and say that Tesla's full self-driving software is further amongst everyone just like that. He doesn't come out and just say that. Like, I'm sure he knows what he's talking about when he says like that, things like that. So this was a very interesting chart. Accidents per rate. We can see that Tesla's 5 times more safer than human-driven Teslas, and 16 times more safer than the average car on the road, which is interesting. I mean, that's insane, and crazier, more crazier than Waymo's, more safer than Waymo. And I mean, we're seeing those videos where we see the darn car driving on the wrong side of the road, and that's a Waymo. So yeah. Now, some comments on the growth part that they mentioned here is ARK Invest expects Tesla to grow vehicle production 4-5% per year through 2029 as production scales. ARK Invest says, or they expect, Tesla should produce anywhere between 6 to 16 million vehicles annually after 2029, which robotaxis will be the biggest chunk of the vehicles being produced. And the next part was pretty interesting, that Elon came out and said that this part may not be true, right? The ARK Invest expects robotaxis to be sold off to fleet owners rather than individuals. But Elon came out and said that we're going to have robotaxi fleet and we're going to have, fleet owners. So it's going to be half of that, half of this. So that's going to be an interesting time to see what's going to happen. Comment on Optimus. They did not add any Optimus to it. They only said that, okay, maybe by 2029 they can have enough bots to be working in the factories that can, help Tesla's manufacturing costs, help them save a whole lot of money, help the operating costs, so operating expenses. So that's what they're saying. So they're not even including the bots in this valuation. And the crazy part is that they're not even, energy, they weren't even adding that into it as much. They're saying 850 gigawatts of energy by 2029. Guys, you know how much megapacks that is? That equals to 21 megapack factories if each factory can produce 40 gigawatts. That's mind-boggling. I don't know why they ignored this part. They shouldn't have ignored energy, which is crazy. Tesla Semi, they didn't add it at all. Supercharged network, they didn't add that at all, or very little. They didn't do anything about that. ARK Invest suggests that FSD licensing is a big deal, but won't happen. Oh, man. I think they're going to be wrong on this. I think FSD licensing is going to come a whole lot sooner than anyone thinks. If I'm a competitor or if I'm BYD and I'm seeing that, okay, the market is moving to EVs. I'm an EV company. Great. We're going to sell EVs. But what's the next thing? EVs, I think EVs is pretty much the next thing. There's nothing that can really beat that at the moment. The next thing is full self-driving. Like, it'll come to a point, guys, where if you're going to buy a car and you don't have full self-driving, you're wasting time. Like, it's gonna become a point where this becomes a feature of a car, or the main feature of the car. If you don't have it, if you're an automaker and you don't have the software, then you just lost a big advantage. You're in a massive disadvantage. So if I'm competitive and I'm seeing that, okay, if these things can drive you and it's gonna save people a whole lot of time, then I better get this thing in my car as well. Who's leading? Tesla's leading. Tesla, please come and give me the software, licensing it to me. We'll do this deal, together, something like that. So I could definitely see this happening, and sooner than 5 years, that's for sure. So they didn't even add. Oh no, what happened to my posts? I gotta go find it again. Go back. There we go. So I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much. And then you guys can go check out the how they do it, how they do the analysis. But that's crazy though. Now my thought is back. In this analysis, they did not add FSD licensing, Optimus, or energy. It was purely Robotaxi, and they're coming up with $2,600. Madness. Now, I'm gonna go through my data, my own Excel, showing you guys how maybe this won't scale as fast as we think, but it will scale pretty fast. It will scale pretty fast. But a lot of people are saying, okay, man, these numbers are great in the long term, sure. But when is this thing gonna double to $1 trillion, right? My stock price prediction by end of this year is 350, which will be over 1 trillion. And that's because it's gonna be a lot of things coming in with Tesla, a lot of catalysts, interest rates being one of them. Robotaxi announcement is going to be another one. New affordable vehicle is going to be another one of that for sure. But, the main thing is Robotaxi is what ARK is saying. And at the moment, full self-driving and Robotaxi is saying they can drive this up. So let me guys show you what I mean when let me just go ahead and, share my screen. Let me just do the full thing. Blah. How are y'all doing, by the way? Let me know how y'all doing. I'm getting better with these live streams, I guess. Okay, so you get to see the screen. So let's go to this one. Let me see if you guys can see it. All right, let me see. All right, good. You guys can see my screen. So this is the model that I made when it comes to Tesla's Robotaxi fleet. All right, and this is only for Tesla's fleet, right? I may have to change the screen in the way that you guys can see it properly. You guys can see my screen. Oh my God, what am I doing? Okay, there we go. I think you guys can see it better this way, right? Let me know if you guys can see it better this way. I just want to make sure you guys were on the same page. Come on now. No. Can you guys see this properly? I think you guys can see this properly. Yeah, these numbers are pretty big. So here's what I've got. 2026 is the year where I think Tesla's gonna start bringing out the robotaxi fleet, which is a cyber cap, right? I'm expecting 500 cyber cabs on the road. I'm expecting a base fare of $1 per each fare. So if you're going to get in the car, aside from the cost per mile that you're going to be paying for, is going to be the base fare. Now, Tesla's cost per mile could drop down to 25 cents. So 100% growth here would be 50 cents. Let's say that vehicles can do 30 trips per day, right? At an average of 5 miles per day, 30 trips, that's 150 miles being driven every day for Robotaxi. Expenses would be 29,000, and how I got this number was, well, Tesla's got to do the cleaning, they're gonna have the insurance, they're gonna deal with depreciation, the tires and maintenance. They also have to produce the vehicle, which I think will cost them around, how much is it here? I think I put 19,000 for that year, 19,000, and the other 10,000 is all the other costs. And I am being, extremely not conservative. I'm actually putting a lot more expensive than need to be there, just to stay conservative, right? So if they do 30 trips per day at 50 cents per mile, that's $105 Tesla's going to make. Each fleet's going to make every single day, $105. Revenue annually, 19 million. Total expenses, right? And then if with 500 fleet, that's about $4.6 million in profits, which is peanuts. It's nothing. It doesn't do anything, right? And if you give this a 30 PE, that's only 140 $140 million added onto the valuation, which just, it's kind of silly. But what's not silly is the scaling. So for 2027, I'm saying 1,000, then 10,000, then 100,000 vehicles, then 200,000, then 500,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 4, and 8 million vehicles. And if we just go to 2035, we can see, obviously, they're producing this robotaxi vehicle in scale. So they bring that cost down from 29,000 to 24,000. And you guys can see every single year that's going down as well. Then all of a sudden Tesla fleet is making $307 billion in just robotaxi revenue. You get the expenses of 192 billion, almost $115 billion in fleet earnings, which if you give that a 30 PE, that's 3.4 or 3.5 trillion in valuation just from this alone. And you guys can see the scale going up exponentially. Now, most of you guys are looking at this and go like, yo, man, 50 cents is not realistic, man. It has to be a whole lot more than 50 cents. Let's put 75 cents, right? It's still cheaper than Uber, right? So if we go ahead and drag this down, then all of a sudden everything just doubles. Not doubles, but increases by 50 cents. I mean, just look at that. $224 billion in fleet earnings, almost 7 trillion in valuation, which is insane. But I'm going to keep it at 50 cents just to be, conservative. And I do think, I have not made this chart available on Patreon yet. I just got to clean up a little bit more. But this is the fleet. I mean, the fleet is still not it's just scale. Now, because they did 500 in 2026, it doesn't mean they can double in 2027. They can probably 10x that to 5,000, and then 10x that to 50,000. And then, these numbers are just conservative. So I'm just keeping it conservative again. Fleet operator, right? Now so what we just did was how Tesla's own Robotaxi can come and perform. This is people who have Teslas and they add it to the Robotaxi fleet. This is the fleet operator. So one fleet, this person will be paying $199 a month for the FSD licensing, not licensing, just for the FSD software. They'll be charging the customer $1. So same thing as the fleet, $1 per base fare. I put here 75 cents per PM because this is, fleet operator, not Tesla doing it. Tesla doing it, they can, if they want to bring down the price to 50 cents, which is just dirt cheap, they're going to make this thing on scale like crazy. In the beginning, I don't think it's going to be the case. So I put here 75 cents. Let's say they do 25 trips per day. And I think this is about maybe 8 or 9 hours of doing Robotaxi for a Tesla owner that's not using their vehicles. So they come home, I work at 4 or 5, and then they have this thing, or no, not 4 or 5. If you do 10 hours, that wouldn't make any sense. But let's just say they bought the vehicle and just do strictly Robotaxi for 10 hours. That's 25, and it's about 2 to 2. The rate is 2 to 2.5 per hour for Robotaxi for trips per day. So that's 25, 125 miles, average miles been driven. $119 revenue per day. Annual revenue will be 43,000 for the customer. However, Tesla's going to take a 30% cut here, which will their cut will be 13,000. Their expenses, which includes the FSD, the cleaning, the insurance, depreciation, tires and maintenance, comes down to almost 12,500. Fleet makes about 20,000, every single. Well, this is about what annually. This is how they make about 20,000 a year, almost 18,000 a year just from one Robotaxi, if the charge is 75 cents. Now, how much will Tesla benefit here? So 13,000 is what the revenue is going to be. 80% is going to be the operating margin. I'm sure there's some cost to it. Then we have the FSD, because the customer is paying FSD on a monthly basis, but let's just say 60% of that is revenue, is profits. Total, that'll be almost $12,000. So Tesla makes 12,000 for doing absolutely nothing. And they're taking a 30% cut. I mean, this can turn to 40%, and you can see the thing, 20%, you guys can see it. But I think 30% would make sense. 70% they will take it. I think this makes complete sense. Comment down below what you guys think. At 30 PE, that would be a valuation of only 355,000. So not much. However, though, Uber at the moment in the United States has about 1.5 million Uber drivers on the road at the moment. So if we do that, 1.5 million with the same thing, obviously FSD monthly, I think, let's say by the time Tesla has 1.5 million Robotaxis, or they allow 1.5 million Tesla fleets to come on the road and they actually do the Robotaxi stuff, I'm sure the FSD monthly is going to be a whole lot more. But let's just say at that time, 1.5 million, Tesla's like, all right, you guys, whoever, these users in the US, 1.5 million can use Robotaxis. Let's see the numbers. Oh my Lord, look at the numbers, guys. Look at that. So total annual revenue for fleet operators among 1.5 million is about 65 billion in revenue. Tesla's cut off that is 19.5 billion. Cost for these guys will be around 18.5, 18.6 billion. So fleet operators are going to go home. They're going to get almost $27 billion. So 1.5, again, each fleet gets about almost 18,000. So $27 billion. That's crazy. But what's crazier is Tesla's here. 80% of that for profits would be 15.6 billion. And then we have to add on the 60% profit, right, for the FSD. That comes down to 2.1.5. And by the way, guys, the revenue, this is just the cut. If we add the FSD revenue on top of that, the revenue would be a whole lot more as well. But for simplicity, we're not going to do that. We're just going to focus on earnings here. So Tesla's going to be making a little over 2.1 billion in just FSD sales, right? Because the guy who's doing Robotaxi has FSD software that's paying monthly to Tesla. So with that 60% operating margin, that's 2.1 billion. Total, that's almost $18 billion, guys, that Tesla just generated without doing a single thing. That's just madness. Give that 30 PE, $500 billion in valuation, just like what it is right now. I mean, right now the Tesla stock is what, 550 billion? This is 533 billion. Like, this is insane, but let's get more crazy with this number. Let's say the year is 2035, okay? 2035, and there's 107 million Tesla vehicles on the road around that time. And yes, by the way, 2024, if they deliver around 1.9 vehicles, it's going to be around 7.4 million vehicles on the road. But in 2035, let's say 10% of that number, right? 10% of this number, not a crazy number as 50%. Just 10% of this number, guys. Ready for this number? That's 10.7 million vehicles. And look at that. Tesla's gonna profit 123 or 127 billion dollars in profits. That's a valuation of 3.8 trillion. Now, if you want to add this with the Tesla's robotaxi fleet, then it looks like ARC's numbers, don't seem to be that crazy. What I'm saying that it's crazy that it's going to be this soon. You know what I mean? So that's crazy. That is flipping crazy. And again, I'll make this available on Patreon as well later, so you guys can play around with these numbers as well. Now, here's the thing. All right, Pejjy, these trillions of numbers are great. Elon said ARK Invest is awesome, but let's hit the first trillion first. When are we going to hit the first trillion? That's a good question. Check out this chart. This is a chart where I took Microsoft, Nvidia's, Apple's, Amazon, Google, and Tesla's profits and market cap every single year from now to 2030. And you guys can see something very interesting. I'm projecting that in 2029 to 2030, just look at the market cap from 3.5 trillion to 6.5 trillion. And that has to do with the fleet operator here. Where is it? There it is. This fleet operator here. It has to do with this. I put this and I put them evaluation, and that's what I get. And that's what I see happening. That's what I do see this happening for some time. So that's crazy. That's how I see it. Tesla's going to be that company. Right, guys? Let me just come back to the screen here. Tesla's going to be that company where it's just going to be an RKO out of nowhere. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be an RKO out of nowhere. It's going to perform, this year, it's going to be fully based on electric vehicles. Energy is going to keep coming up as well. But then once Robotaxi comes in and this full self-driving thing comes in, that's when people, and mainly Wall Street, is going to realize and wake up and go like, whoa, what's going on here? How did they make this much so fast? And next thing you know, in the earnings call, Elon's going to come out, or one of the guys in Tesla board of directors is going to come out and say, but yeah, our Robotaxi fleet is growing at this pace, and we should be doubling, tripling, quadrupling, whatever, by end of next year, year after that. And guess what? An NVIDIA moment happens for Tesla. The question is when? Will it be 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029? That's the question. That is the question. But it's coming. It's coming, and I'm just interested to see what's going to happen for this Robotaxi fleet, Robotaxi day. But what do you guys think? I'm curious to know. Now I'm back here. I can see what you guys are commenting. All right, so let's go. Okay, so what is your price target by the end of 2024? 350, and I ain't changing it. All right. Shout out from Vancouver, Henry, fellow Canadian. Nice to see you. I just need 1 times and I'll be happy. 1 times, even 2 times, double the money, right? Get to $1 trillion. That's it. Exactly. Yeah. So possibly could happen this year, but I'm not betting against it. I'm giving my own valuation of 350 by the end of this year. Maybe a 10-20% chance of that happening. It all depends on interest rates. All depends on Robotaxi, what demand is, what's coming, what's not coming. So, but I am not changing my price target of 350 in this year. At the 2600, I will semi-retire from my job. Sheesh. Let's get to 100 first. Facts. At this point, with interest rates forever high, doubt with global currencies, I'd be happy with $500 per share. Yeah. I don't know. I do see interest rates going down at the end of this year. I still do see that happening, but minor, not too heavily. I'm certain that Elon and Tesla organization have planned out this thoroughly, whatever, man. This is what Elon does, and he's deadly accurate. He is accurate, but he's off with his timing. I love Elon, though. The infrastructure and policing of FSD Robotaxi will be a huge challenge. Yep. Well, I mean, since it's just a software, they can quickly find out who's doing what, and it's all tracked. So I don't think it's gonna be that bad. But that's why I think they gotta, fully figure out this full self-driving thing first before they can go on to this. All right, Matt of the North. If we are only halfway to ARC's bear case by 2029, I'm still ecstatic. Yeah, me too. That's what, $1,300 per share? Yep. My price target for Tesla by end of 2030 is around 1500. So they're saying 2600, even 3100 bucks by end of the year, by end of 2029. I'm saying 1500 by 2030. And that's not, I mean, how they're valuing Robotaxi. Whew, that's aggressively a sheesh moment. That's all I got to say. There will be many environmental anti-capitalist groups trying to undermine Tesla by vandalizing their vehicles. Yeah, mainly Uber drivers, taxi drivers, and those who are using transportation as a job. Those guys for sure. Organizing rides, problems that come up with during trips, flat tires. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That definitely, yeah, that's not going to be an easy thing to do. Many police organizations are trying to outfit their entire fleets as Teslas. That's facts. First rate cut should help them speed up even more. Dubai has an entire fleet of, well, they don't have an entire fleet of police type of trucks. They only have one, which is the picture. But I can see them expanding on that later on. Yeah, Dubai is different, man. Dubai's got like so they got Ferraris as polices, they got Lamborghinis as polices, they got a flipping G wagon as a police. Why? Because why not, right? They got a Bugatti as a police car. Like it's crazy what these guys are doing there. All I need is 300 by end of 2024. Well, let's hope my 350 happens by end of this year, which I do think will probably happen. 10% chance. 400 share, I can quit my job. Me too. um, Once they launch in 2026, it should go so much faster. Exactly. I think they'll get to 500 on the road in a year. Too conservative. Many cities will welcome it. What about China giving the approval? So China, I think, already gave their approval, but now they're starting to get into instead of talking, they're going to action now. And yeah, Tesla is a master of scaling. So we just need to get these vehicles on the road. We just need to get these road taxis up and running so Tesla can collect data. And then once they know they're good to go, hey man, why not just scale it up? Because we know we can scale it up, right? And I won't bet against that. A Tesla bus will be interesting with FSD. A Tesla bus. Well, I mean, the semi is like kind of a, up there. All it would take is just one deadly accident for this to go south real fast. Well, no, not really. I mean, how many times did Waymo get into accidents, right? And they're still up and running. So I think it'll come to a point where accidents, even if a deadly accident does happen, the rate's going to be so much less than human accidents that it's just not a good idea to take them off the road, if you know what I mean. So that's my thoughts on that. What do you think stock price this week? Oh, man. Now that we're looking back at the fundamentals and there's no more of this uncertainty, it's hard to say. I don't know. That's why I'm not a short-term investor. I'm a long-term investor, and I'm hoping it goes down for a little bit more so I can buy a little bit more. I'm so close to 1,000 share, guys. Just need to buy a little bit more. But I do think it'll be either flat. I think most likely it'll be flat. Up and down 2-3%. It'll just be flat. As long as it's still more safe than humans, facts. Agree with that. 10K per share is all I need. Maybe end of mid 2035. Maybe around there, maybe. Yes, but the media and Department of Transfer will be all over Tesla, even if a person was at fault. Well, I mean, again, I think what will happen here is obviously an investigation will go on, but at the end, the conclusion will be the same. That, hey, man, if we didn't have this, I mean, yes, it's terrible, but look at the rate of accidents. It's like 10 times, 15 times less. If we didn't have this, we probably would have had maybe 5-10 times more accidents on the road. So maybe a penalty will be given, but other than that, I don't think that. Why not? Just trying to identify all the hurdles that we can face as investors. Yeah, I mean, look, everything has risks, and especially with Robotaxi and stuff that has risks. Now to come think of it, Nvidia didn't have any risks. They just sell the chips to other companies. But forget that. I think Tesla with their dojo, once it does actually happen, I think they'll be buying less from Nvidia, unless, I don't know, these chip things I'm not too educated on, but I just don't. Nvidia is an awesome investment. It really is, and it's probably going to go higher. And you guys already seen the videos that I make on Nvidia, and I think it's going to become the world's most valued company for the next few years. But Tesla has more TAM. it just has more TAM. It has more markets. I mean, again, just Robotaxi alone, this thing alone can just take it to the world's most valuable company. We'll be bad for a little. We'll be bad for a little while, but accidents will anyway happen either way. Yes, but at a much lower rate. I voted yes, of course. Let's go. 350 will be great by end of 2040. Let's flip and go. Daryl, what you say, my man? Pejjy, are you calculating possible splits in your analysis? 2027. Yep. I'm expecting stock price for Tesla in 2027 to be around 800. And I do expect Tesla to do like a 4-for-1 then, or a 5-for-1 then, somewhere around there. Pejjy, what happened to your 3,300 price prediction by 2030? When did I ever have that? Did I ever have a 3,330 prediction by 2030? And if it was, I think it was pre-split. I think it was pre-split. Because now if you do just a stock split, it is around $1,100 per share, which I'm saying end of this decade will be around $1,500 per share. So it's more than that. All right, Macron, how are you, my man? All right. Police car can save 80%. I wouldn't be surprised. Want to see more with Tesla and India. Yeah, me too. I want to see that as well. What is your average for your shares and how many shares do we have? So I'm almost at 1,000 shares and average price is at 200 or below. It's somewhere there. I think once I reach the 1,000, I'll be below 2,000. Sorry, once I reach 1,000 shares, I'll be below $200 as my cost. So sheesh. Have you seen a new Robotaxi ad in Investco Triple Q is showing on YouTube? With who? Who's ad Investo Triple Q? No, I have not seen it. With Teslas, I've seen it. You mean you can retire with 360,000? No, you cannot retire with 360,000. Hell no. Or maybe you can, depending where you live and how you do things. I am 75 years old. Do you think I can retire after 5 years, given that I own 500 shares? Well, 5 years, she's saying, ARK is saying in 5 years' time, stock price can, let's say bear case of 2,000. So if that happens, probably you could. But if I was 75, that's a lot of risk to take. But the longer term we hold Tesla, I think, in my opinion, financial advice, we're gonna be. It's the best risk adjusted stock, right? I mean, the amount of innovation these guys are doing, it's hard not to see them come into fruition, especially how successful their FSD is so far. I mean, again, by end of 2029, if Atomic doesn't happen, ARK is projecting the stock to be around 350, which would pretty much be in line with the S&P 500. So I think they should be okay. Not financial advice, but I think you should be okay by 2029. Tesla's too big, too good, too strong to fail. That's all I'm going to say. I invested in Tesla. I lose money. I sold all Tesla and I invested. I gained profits. Be careful. September. Yeah. NVIDIA, again, is going to do great. They're having a Tesla moment back in 2020. And a lot of people are jumping ship from Tesla to NVIDIA. But I would be careful, man. I wouldn't. I'm not a fan of buying stocks at the all-time high, even though I even do think it's going to go higher. Things can always. I mean, right now there's no FUD with NVIDIA. There's no bad news about NVIDIA, but same thing happened with Tesla in 2020 and 2021, right? Something happened and then it switched. For me, I want Tesla stock to be as cheap as possible for as long as possible because I want to buy more shares. Because I know, like as we just saw earlier in this video, things gonna go crazy. All right, let's see what else you guys got. Then I gotta end it off. HK, what do you think the chances are of Tesla stock hitting 1,000 before 2027? Well, if Robotaxi happens much more sooner than everyone thought, then that's how I can see it. All right. Last one here, not any particular company. They just showing a Robotaxi with AI, like Rock talking to you. Are you sure it's not Tesla, man? Are you sure it's not Tesla? Anyways, so that is the breakdown of ARK. Yeah. My final thoughts is I don't know how they can scale. I don't know how Tesla can scale the way how ARK is saying they're going to scale. Like again, 600 billion in profits by 2029. I don't know. It all depends on how they do things, and just gotta wait and see how they do it. I mean, my general thoughts is they will eventually do it, but I mean, early 2030s is what I'm saying. That's what I'm projecting around early 2030s, and we just need to get the Robotaxi on the road to see what we can do, see what I can do, and how we can add it to our valuation. I mean, I've already added to my valuation. I'm expecting 2026 and onwards. Not too much. Well, I haven't made that video yet about my valuation with Robotaxi, which I'll come out with that later on. But yeah, we just need this thing to come online, and yeah, see how this thing will go. But once it comes online, folks, scalability is going to be much faster than anybody will ever think. All right, I'm going to end it off at that. 45 minutes. Sheesh. Thank you guys so much for coming. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you guys are watching this through X, which I think the majority of you guys are, hit that. Follow me up, man. Support me. And I love you all back. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. And have an awesome Sunday. Take care.